Wax. It's Big Wax. I don't know why I call myself Big Wax. I don't know what the big is from. I'm not that big. I'm like pretty much average size. And that's both in terms of stature and fame or whatever you want to call it. Whatever people call themselves big or Lil. Why don't I be Lil Wax, you know? Or Young Wax or whatever kind of other rap, stereotypical rap prefix, predecessor, precursor, suffix, rap suffix. A suffix, right? Isn't that what they call like Mr. or Ms. or Doctor? I should have been Doctor. Dr. Wax. Paging Dr. Wax. But anyway, that's all besides the point. Because there was no point. So if there isn't any point, I guess nothing can be beside the point. Or everything's beside the point. There is no point. So nothing can be beside something that doesn't exist. Yeah. Okay. Wax's Podcast, episode 84. Back coming at you in the flesh. Ready to whoop some ass verbally. Just ready to fucking talk about the most interesting things that you've ever heard in your life. The topics that I'm going to be discussing today will most likely alter the chain. You know, the way that the world was going, it was going in one direction. And after this podcast is released to the public, it will undoubtedly launch a very viral campaign to change the world according to the ideas I express in this recording. No, that's not true. But yeah, I don't know why I call myself Big Wax. If you guys didn't know, there's actually another rapper named Big Wax. He's from the DC area. He's homies with Wale. And I think one time he tweeted at me a few years ago and was like, and he said something nice to me, like great minds think alike or something like that. It wasn't something mean. If it came down to it, you know, my name is Wax, not Big Wax. I don't know why I went by Big Wax, as I said earlier. It must have been my penis size, I suppose. No. But, yeah, so I've been Wax for a long time. So if anybody wants to... That being said, there was a band called Wax in the 80s that now, I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of bot, there's some kind of computer bot on Twitter that like once every week I get some fucking thing in my notifications on Twitter that's like totally 80s music played blah, blah, blah by Big Wax. And it's like talking about a band, this band called Wax, who I actually have a mutual friend of the person that was like the leader of that band. And definitely some weird shit. There's definitely, according to this mutual friend, they talked to that person and there's been many times where somebody thought they were going to see that band and they went to see me. Sometimes they were upset and sometimes they were, you know, happily surprised that it was pretty decent. I actually had somebody come up to me this was in Houston. It was an older cat, and he came up to me. He was like, "Why don't you ever play any songs off of blah blah blah?" I was like, "Huh? Yeah, you know that the album blah blah blah." And whatever, it wasn't called blah blah blah, but whatever album it wasn't an album that I had done. So that being said, after a whole concert, this was the Wintervention tour. He saw Breezy, he saw Dumb, and he saw me. And even after the whole concert was finished, he still thought he was watching this punk rock band from the 80s called Wax. I guess the kind of rock influence I was playing live shows with at the time didn't probably help, but it's kind of crazy. He didn't even know. He was seeing somebody totally else with the same name. Even after he saw the whole show, he was just wondering why they didn't play any of his favorite hits. And I apologize to that band. I didn't take your name. I don't know where I got the name from. I apologize to Big Wax in D.C., the rapper. I don't know why I had to have Big. You probably were like, when you first got your Twitter, because obviously I got it first because, you know, you have to, I think he has like an underscore or something in between. And he probably was like, who the fuck is this guy when he got his Twitter? But I've been Wax for a long time, man. And I've been on the internet for a good minute of that time. So my internet properties are something that I acquired on an early. Can you say earlily? Like earlyly? I don't know. You should be able to, though. It was done earlily and eerily. I don't know, but yeah, here I am. It's Thursday. I know it's not Wednesday. It's Thursday. It's 2:00. I've actually developed this schedule recently, where like this is like the start of the day for me. For some reason, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I've now officially evolved at this point right now, the last couple weeks, where I'm kind of a night person. Like I go to bed at literally like 5 and wake up at like noon, if not 1. And, you know, it's still the same amount of sleep, but it just makes me feel kind of like a piece of shit when I wake up at 1. And yesterday sucked because I was actually trying to kind of change the schedule. I tried to go to bed early. I tried to go to bed at like 11, and I just couldn't sleep. I didn't fall asleep till literally like 6 a.m., so I was just watching documentaries and movies and YouTube clips and things like that. I watched like fucking 3 documentaries last night. I watched the documentary on, what did I watch? I watched recommendation by me. If you have Netflix, which, you know, if you don't have Netflix, you know, you probably never heard of television either. You should just spend your time cleaning out your cave. I don't even know how you're listening to this podcast at all. You probably think this is AM radio, but no, that wasn't even funny. Whatever. Gugabazoo. You know what I recommend? I recommend the Lance Armstrong documentary on Netflix. I don't remember what the title of the I think it was called All or Nothing. I want to say it was called All or Nothing or Stop at Nothing. Some dumb shit like that. But it's a documentary. In the documentary section, probably also in new releases or new arrivals, however they word it, on Netflix. And man, it was a great documentary. It was really intriguing to see who Lance Armstrong was and how much lying was really going on with as far as him using steroids and shit, and just like the way he was portrayed in the public. Because, you know, it wasn't that long ago. I remember when my album came out 2 years ago. Probably I wrote one of the songs on there probably half a year before that, and I still remembered Lance Armstrong as like this hero guy. So it's only been recently, really, that he had to do the interview with Oprah and admit to everybody that he used steroids. And I think most of the world still doesn't think much about it. They just think like, yeah, you know, he did steroids, blah, blah, blah. But if you watch this documentary, it goes way further than that. Like the level to which they were taking this whole doping thing on this U.S. Postal Service bike team that used to do the world, what's the fuck's it called? The Tour de France. Tour de France. You know, literally before every race, they would be hiding like little packets of steroids that they had to shoot in the, like there'd be press outside of a white van, and while they're in the van shooting steroids into their ass and hiding the fucking little mini syringe or whatever that comes in an empty soda can, and then they step out and there's swarms and swarms of cameras around them, and they had to hide this shit before like every race. And what was amazing about it, though, is the level to which Lance Armstrong was lying about it afterwards, like in all these public forums where he was considered this hero, and he wouldn't, you know, he was a sociopath, he was psycho, he was the kind of person that would be able to, like, you know, he really wanted him to believe in his own myth. And point being, you should watch the movie. Don't take my horrible summary of it just now and think to yourself, oh, well, I don't need to see it. I heard Wax say some stupid shit about it. Trust me, I didn't do it justice. You should see it. What else did I watch? I always watch like the depressing. Oh, I watched some. I definitely recommend as well. There are good documentaries on Netflix right now. Watch Culture High. Culture High is a. I mean, essentially, it's about the argument of marijuana legalization for or against. But it goes a lot deeper than that. It talks a lot about our society in general. It goes into like, you know, it just goes into a lot of shit. It's a really good documentary. It's like it almost feels like it's not even about marijuana legalization. It's just using that as an issue that brings up all these other issues. So I remember those are my recommendations on Netflix today: Culture High, and whatever the fuck the Lance Armstrong documentary is called. You know what I had. This week, my phone's been acting up. Anybody that owns an iPhone and uses the Notepad app might be able to attest to The true fact, I don't even know what the fuck that sentence I just said meant, attest to the true fact. I feel like I need to start reading again. My vocabulary, when I do this podcast, I think sometimes I try to sound smart, but I'm not. So I use words that don't make sense. But anyway, my Notepad app on my phone has started going haywire. Like the rhyme I'm writing right now, I'm writing another. I already have one in the can. Haha, I got one in the can, but I'm writing another like long rap verse thing for a YouTube video. And for some reason, I looked at the thing, and for some reason, the fucking Notepad app had like made like 10 copies of that thing, and when I would go to the app, it has the title of it like 10 times. And simultaneously, it also deleted my ideas for this podcast, which strangely enough, I actually had like 6 things written down this week. That being said, I could only remember 2 of them. So I'll start with this one. So I was hanging out with a friend of mine this week. I'm not going to say his name, even though he probably wouldn't give a fuck if I did. But I have a friend who's a musician, and he actually has a day job, and he's actually making a transition, kind of like he's kind of getting out of the whole professional musician life and getting into the pornography life. He works as a PA on porno sets. He has a girl that does pornography movies, a young starlet. And he's a super cool dude. I was hanging out with him and his girl. You know, you got to always remember, like, no matter what people do, especially in the porn industry, it seems so weird and crazy. But a lot of these people are just regular folks, just like you and me. They just do a different thing than us for money, and they might look at sex a little differently than we are. Point being, I was hanging out with them. I was kicking at their crib, just eating dinner. And, you know, I started, his girl went to sleep. She was tired. She went to bed early, and we were just up fucking bullshitting, drinking beer. And we started talking. He has, like, it's intriguing to hear all these porn stories, like stories from being on the set and whatnot. And for some reason, I started saying, because, you know, when I watch pornography, one thing I notice is that there's a lot of bad tattoos. There's a lot of bad tattoos in the world. You know, I can't believe some of the fucking tattoos that people put on their skin. And we started looking at like misspelled tattoos and just dumb shit online. And when I had told him that I thought like a lot of porn shit had bad tattoos, he was like, "Oh my god, dude, I see it every day." Because his main job as a PA is like the lighting. He says there's like a common type of light they have in porn. It's kind of like mobile that somebody holds and moves as necessary, called the pussy light. And that doesn't mean it has to be on the pussy. It can be anywhere, but often it's used on the pussy. So much shit he was telling me, man. Sometimes some of you guys don't realize, and I don't realize, like when you watch pornography, he was saying that, like, yeah, people look at the woman, but it's really the man. He was saying it's really the man who has a difficult job, because what you don't realize is that they get into these positions, and it looks awesome on screen, and it looks like they're having a great time, but sometimes the actual positions they're in, if you really think about it and tried to recreate it, it'd be extremely difficult and not very comfortable, because they have to move their legs and arms and shit in certain kind of ways for the camera angle. Like in order to see the titty, the penetration, the vag, like whatever they want to show in the one scene, he says sometimes it's actually way more difficult than it appears. When you watch it from home while you masturbate, while you're jerking off. You're just there jerking off, not realizing how difficult it is to do what the people are doing on screen, probably because you're too busy thinking about jerking off. Jerking off is what you were doing. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me today, man. It's the first time I've done a daytime podcast in a while. I just ate a big-ass fucking salad. I feel all refreshed. I've been trying to eat healthy the last couple of days. I got a gym membership. Let me before, you know, I could talk about that too, but before I get to it, the point of the story was this. This was the point of even bringing up my homie that worked in porn, even though I could probably do like 10 podcasts. I'm going to get him on the show. I'm going to get my boy on the show soon. My point was we were talking about bad tattoos. And I think that he's probably told me, I don't know. Check this out. So he's being a PA on the set. This particular scene that day, he's doing the lighting, holding the shit close up to the girl, holding the shit close up to the dicks, the pussies, blah, 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 whatever's going on. And in this particular scene, this day. It was a 2-on-1, 2 dudes, 1 girl. So they do all the shit, like they go here, there, fucking dog, all the positions you could probably possibly think of with two guys and 1 girl. And of course, you can probably guess what the final scene is. It is her, and she's on her knees with 1 dick in her left hand, 1 dick in her right hand, moving that shit like she almost looks like she's doing the motions of an air traffic controller. You know what I mean? So she's jerking off the 2 dicks as she kneels on the ground with these people standing to either side of her, left and right. And simultaneously, they ejaculate all over her head. And he didn't even say face. He said head because he was like, dude, it was like with 2 guys like that, it's like, it's not even a face. It's just her head. So he's holding the light. And at the end, they kind of have to get close up on the aftermath, which is left on her face. And he says kind of like, there's just kind of one, like, this is almost artistic. Like, there's kind of like 1 droplet that's kind of like, when people like, well, you probably know what I'm talking about from jerking off, but if you fucking spray paint a wall for too long, it'll drip. So there's 1 drip that's kind of sliding down her neck. And when it gets to the bottom of her neck, where her neck meets her shoulder, there's a tattoo right there. And he's kind of like following this little drop, but still has our whole shit. And the tattoo that it's just words, and it says "Know your worth." Know your worth. Goddamn. And there's so many ways you could interpret that. Like, she probably got paid a pretty good amount for the scene, so she knows her worth. Or you could look at it a more negative way, like she's fucking on her knees and just got comb all over her face, like, which some people would consider the ultimate disrespect. So she knows her worth, and let's say that worth isn't very high, Like you could actually get another tattoo artist to put that apostrophe before the R and add a E, and then add a less to the end of the word worth, Know you're worthless. But she's not worthless. I've probably seen the scene. I want to watch it now. I'm gonna. You know what? I should have asked him, like, yo, what's her name? He probably knows it. It's so weird. He knows like all the people that you might have seen, like in the the top porn star people. Like he like knows them as people, like as regular people, and be like, she's a bitch, and like he's an asshole, or she's great. She's great. So I don't know. I found that interesting. He's the same guy that in an earlier podcast episode I mentioned that he had dated a porn chick before. And it was the last straw when she came home and had cum in her hair from work. And, I guess it wasn't the last straw for good because he's dating a porn chick now. I don't know. Maybe he just bought more shampoo. I don't know. Who knows, man? I just wanted to share the story about the tattoo. All right. I got one more thing written down that I could remember that was written down, and this is fucking stupid. It's whatever. I wrote a fucking sick ass bar the other day, and I just had this feeling of joy, and I've had that feeling of joy many times. And I guess my point is just that it's really interesting that I think the real joy in writing rhymes, especially the kind of rhymes that are just trying to be clever metaphors, kind of braggadocio, I'm better than you, you ain't shit, and I'm the man, those kind of raps, where you just try to be clever and rap well and rhyme a bunch of syllables and say cool metaphors. I think part of the beauty of when you think of something really cool in that realm is just the fact that there's billions and billions of people on the earth, and sometimes you think of something and you're like, dude, nobody has ever thought of that before. Nobody's ever said that before, and that's pretty amazing that I created something that I can be almost 100% confident because due to its cleverness and originality, I can be almost 100% confident that nobody in the world has ever thought of this before. I guess you got to just make it the English-speaking world in most of these cases, but it's pretty incredible, man. It's like there's all these people, and like only me has said these words. I don't know. But yeah, I got a lot of I got a lot of music on the way. I'm pretty much done. I'll just give you all an update for those of you guys that listen to the podcast and made it this far. I'm trying to stockpile some content. I have an album that's pretty much done that I just have to kind of do some finishing touches on. I'm trying to shoot a few videos, so before I put out the album, I can put out these videos. I've already shot one. I'm almost ready to shoot another 2. And what I want to do is I want to put out these few videos before the album comes out, so to hopefully like reinvigorate and re-energize people that give a fuck about me and make them give a fuck again. So that's where I'm at with that. And shit, man, even beyond the album I'm working on now that I'm almost done, I'm pretty much halfway done another one. So hopefully I'm hoping to put out 2 projects this year. But right now I need to focus on the first one. But a lot of you guys think I ain't doing shit, and I see why you would think that. But I have a lot of music on my hard drive. A lot of fucking music. Because I still have a fucking side project that me and Davey did last year that we're now finished. I did a fucking album with Breezy and Dumb last year that's finished. I don't know what's going on with that. We're going to hopefully put that out. So there's a good chance that I might be releasing a fuckload of content this year as far as music goes. So I don't know why I'm telling you that. I guess it's because that's what I do for a living, and that's what a lot of you guys know me from, is the music that I've done, right? Yeah. So I might as well give you an update and be a little bit promotional. I'm going to go full-on promotional. Go to my website, wax.com, buy some shit. Go to fucking iTunes and give this podcast a 5-star. Even if you don't think it's deserving. Lie. Just like Lance Armstrong did. Lance Armstrong would lie so fucking strongly and confidently. And even when he admitted to doing it on Oprah all the years later, he was still a fuckhead about it. And he still lied in the interview. So I recommend that. I recommend that you guys listen to that. Yeah, that song. It was like Lance Armstrong, Neil Armstrong. If your name is something that ends in Armstrong, I probably ain't talking to you. That was, I should have tried harder. Check that out on YouTube. You know what I'm going to do for the rest of the podcast? I'm just going to name everything that I've ever done and tell you to go check it out. It's going to be purely promotional podcast now. Well, that's not true, but I will say, like many episodes ago, I did give out a song that I forgot that I had done that, and I saw it on YouTube. So if you want to hear a song that you may possibly have not heard yet, if you didn't get the free secret song that I gave away on like episode 30-something, it's called Pass the Kool-Aid. And some dude put it on YouTube, so if you look what Wax Pass the Kool-Aid, it's up there. What else I got going on? I've been going to the gym, y'all, 2 days in a row. I sounded way too proud of myself, huh? 2 days in a row. So last week, I decided, as I said in a previous episode, I didn't like CrossFit. I didn't like yoga. I tried doing yoga, and I didn't like the teacher. She was a kind of cunty, and I thought I was taking a beginner yoga class, and and she just kept it didn't seem like a beginner class to me. I didn't understand half the terminology she was using, and she would come over to me, and she'd fix whatever position I was in, and she'd she'd do it all like that, and I was like, "Fuck you, man! I'm just trying to come in here and relax and meditate, But so I had 2 bad experiences with a group kind of fucking healthy working out kind of environment this year. That and the CrossFit that I talked about a couple episodes ago. So I decided, you know what? There's a gym across the street from my new crib in North Hollywood. I shouldn't tell y'all where the fuck I live at. All right, and I meant in Denver, where I live now in Denver. Now there's a gym across the street. And the gym kind of has an old school vibe. It's one of those fucking 1980s meathead type gyms. But what's great is during the middle of the day, at this point, basically morning for me, 1 or 2 p.m., breakfast time, there's nobody in there. So I can just go in there and do what I want, be by myself. I listen to my headphones, blah, blah, blah. and it's pretty great. So look at me. I've gone 2 days in a row. I've been eating healthy 2 days in a row. I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, if you guys have been listening to this podcast for a long time, you know that I have problems with smoking cigarettes and drinking, and then sometimes I don't do that stuff, and sometimes I do, and sometimes I work out, and then sometimes I eat fucking bacon and pizza for a month. So I'm going to actually make a little transition. I'm going to attempt to transition into a lifestyle of moderation. You know what I mean? Moderate moderation. Like a weekend guy. I'm going to try to be a weekend warrior kind of guy. Like I'm going to treat the weekdays like people treat the weekdays. And I'm going to work out and I'm going to eat healthy during the weekdays. And when the weekend comes, it's kind of like, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm probably, especially, I've been kind of working a lot on music. So I'm going to work whenever I feel like I should work. But I'm going to try to work as often as possible, maybe even every day. But, if I don't want to work, I'm not going to work on weekends. But on weekdays, and I'm not really even talking about working. I'm talking more about smoking, drinking, and eating healthy and working out. During the week, I will not be doing as much smoking and drinking. And I will be working out and eating healthy. On the weekends, I'll still try to work out and eat healthy. And the beautiful thing about eating healthy is if when a Saturday comes around, I'll probably still have some Tupperware full of whatever bullshit healthy thing I made during the week in my fridge. So I can have that for lunch, and then I'll go fucking eat whatever for dinner. Maybe I'll jog to the restaurant, and then I'll just get shit-faced and smoke cigarettes all night. And then I'll wake up the following week feeling all healthy, and then I'll discover I have fucking esophagus cancer. I don't know, man. Let's get to some questions and shout-outs. I think I have a lot of them this week, so dibba-da-bing, scabba-da-beep. All right, I got a lot of questions and shit today. I got a lot of good questions, a lot of long kind of questions. So let's get right to it. All right, we got some shout-outs this week. First of all, Big D. Big D, who recommends real tits over fake tits. I think I was going to talk about fake tits. And I think I said I didn't want to tell fake titty stories because of my mom listens to the podcast. Hey, Mom, how you doing? But he recommends real tits over fake tits. And I won't say that that's I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's some amazing new piece of fucking information as far as, public opinion is concerned. I think that's pretty much just siding with saying like real tits are over fake tit, are better than fake tits is really like saying something like, Coke tastes better than Diet Coke. Everybody knows that. But, sometimes a diet product is made to be almost like the real thing, and it's pretty well made. So it really depends on the maker, and when I say that, I'm referring to the surgeon. Because, some people are good sculptors, and some people are not. And some people use the right materials, and some people don't. So if you've ever been to any strip club or watched any porn or had experiences in real life with girlfriends and things like that, you know that some of them look better than others and feel better than others. Anyway, we got Kareem P. from Sarajevo, Aaron S., John G. in Philly, TJL, Steve from Pittsburgh, Randy Elizabeth, Jordan S., Moises R., Ben K., who recommends Mac Miller's album called Mac Miller. I guess that's, self-titled. And we got Joseph R. I think, for the record, by the way, I think Mac Miller's a dope-ass rapper. I thought that since I first heard him. This dude is funky, and I think he gets more hate than deserved. All right. This will be the first time that I'm going to be reading advice from one listener to another. And I have 2 emails like that this week. The first one is from Trevor R., and I just want to read this real quick. This is in reference to Geoff. 2 or 3 podcasts ago, Geoff was talking about how he was unemployed and decided to take time off, and I re-listened to it for a second just to make sure I knew what Trevor was talking about. And I guess one of the things was that I recommended to Geoff to try to get on unemployment. All right, Trevor R. Yo, just heard the podcast and felt I had to toss in my 2 cents for his benefit as far as Geoff. Don't take too much time off from work, because when you start heading back to work and start interviewing, they're going to ask you why you have not been working for X amount of time. And hopefully you have something good to answer with. I think taking a break is a great idea if you save up the money, but employers are not going to look favorably if you tell them that you took time to figure some stuff out and get out of the rat race if it was done on, quote, the government dime, unquote. However, if you tell them that you didn't take unemployment and tell them that you saved up to be able to take time off and emphatically state how you would never take government assistance, they will likely see you as a responsible young man and you'll get some bonus points. Anyway, I'm looking forward to your April project. Oh, now to me, away from Geoff. Now he gives me some praise, and he recommends Lupe Fiasco's album Tetsuyo and Youth. I don't know how to say that. It is a good album, though. The slightly older album by Crooked Eye, Apex Predator, and Speaks Sex Quest EP. That's hard to say. Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel what you're saying, Trevor. And Geoff had said he just wanted to take some time off, and it sounded like Geoff had kind of, not been fired or laid off. He opted to be unemployed. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking time off, man. I'm sure if it came down to it, when you started doing interviews again, you could think of some kind of like respectful way. You could fucking lie. You could think of some respectful thing that happened during that time off. Somebody in your family was sick. You were just, maybe you had something. You'll fucking think of something. You know what I mean? I disagree about the government dime thing. I don't think that you owe them an explanation as far as that goes. You don't need to fucking tell somebody at a job interview if you got government assistance or not. Just tell them no. If you feel like you should tell them no, just tell them you didn't. Yeah. So I do agree with Trevor though that if you really want to get up in the workplace, they will definitely be concerned about the fact that you haven't been working for a certain amount of time. They'll be concerned about that. Because they might think that has something to do with your personality. Even worse, like when I started, my resume was so bad when I was still working regular jobs, because I would always have jobs for like 6 months and then quit. And like when they're like, well, how come you only worked there for 6 months and then quit? It kind of just gives them a sense of what kind of employee you're going to be. So that's even worse. I'd recommend not doing that. I'd also recommend not getting real jobs, but that's comes from somebody who doesn't have one, and that's spoiled as fuck at this point. I don't even ever have to get up with an alarm clock, which is pretty amazing. But I think sometimes it gets me into trouble. All right, this is another one. This is yet another one. These are a first on the podcast, and it's happening twice. Another one that's a reaction to another listener's email. This is Aaron James. Hey, man, this is Aaron James, the dude with two first names and don't give a fuck. Hey, man, that's a great intro. Aaron James, 2 first names. Aaron James, I got 2 first names. I love what you said about the other listeners' attitude toward making music. Not going to make it because this is parentheses, not going to make it because I'm not rich and no connects, blah, blah, blah. I'm an artist that dabbles in a bunch of shit. I write music, short stories, comics, and illustrate. I'm broke as fuck, but that doesn't matter to me because I know I have something of value that many don't. The ability to create something. Fuck the cynicism. Not to mention, if you're making art to get famous, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Amen, brother. All that is an attempt to satisfy a particular ego an artist has had impressed upon him by her popular culture. Do it to explore, push boundaries, find new artistic terrain because you're curious what else is out there in the ether that hasn't been tapped into yet. I have a SoundCloud with a few songs and not a lot of listens, but that is unimportant right now. I'm in Northern Cali right now, and I plan on going to open mics and actually showing people what I'm capable of. That's more important to me, I think, making moments for people and sharing in it. Anyways, keep saying bullshit like blending gin, piss, and street ants and soaking carrot cake in it. All right, I don't remember saying that. I don't know what context that was said in, but I do occasionally say wacky things on this podcast. Not as much today or last week because I haven't really been in full brainiac mode recently. Maybe, I don't know what it is. I'm having problems stringing the words together. What it is that I need to do the podcast more often because you get better and better at stuff with practice, and when you don't practice, you get rusty. Yeah, I don't know why I just did that, but hey, suck it. Suck it, fuck it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree 100% with what you're saying. You know, if you're doing music and your first concern is promotion, getting famous, getting big, you're probably going to be fucked. And you're probably going to quit early anyway, so it's not really a big deal unless you get really lucky or you're extremely talented, but randomly. You're probably going to quit anyway before you get anywhere, because the shit takes time to get good and to get known and to all that shit. It takes time. So I appreciate your attitude, Aaron James. That's what's up. All right, this one is from Joe Merck. That's a good rap name too. Wax. Joe Merck from Portland here. My brother turned me onto your tunes a few years back, and hey, thanks, man. I appreciate the props. I was listening to one of your first podcasts the other day, and you responded to a fan. All right, let me fucking slow down here. I was thinking. You ever think about something else while you're trying to read, and it just looks like a bunch of letters? I can't think about two things at the same time. I was listening to one of your first podcasts the other day, and you responded to a fan regarding the gradual switch from having an hourly job to making money as a musician. My question is, how, in all caps, exactly, did you go about getting paid as a rapper? You know, there's mastering, copyrights, etc. But what was the actual process you, specifically, went through to start making that paper? I recorded an album in Burbank last summer, and after mastering, it sounds pretty good. Wondering what tips you could offer on getting it out there and kickstarting the extra source of income. Sorry if you've answered this question before, but I'm a relatively new listener and haven't gotten through all your podcasts yet. Looking forward to hearing back from you. P.S. If you want to, do shout-outs, these two. Doused in Gold, recorded / mastered. A person named Doused in Gold recorded and mastered his album. And Jason Merkel is his brother who showed him my music. Okay. I don't know if you, he's saying that his brother showed him my music. All right, so Joe Merck. His brother's Jason Merkel, so I'm assuming you're Joe Merkel, and you showed it to Joe Merck. And let me tell you something. The difference in quality of rap name between Merck and Merkel is a fucking world. It's night and day. Black and white right there. Merck versus Merkel. So I think you made the right decision there, Mr. Merck. I don't know what you meant by, there's mastering, copyrights, etc. I don't know what that means. If that's supposed to be a way I make money, mastering and copyrights, but I'm not exactly sure that means. But if you want to know what I went through to make money, I can tell you exactly what happened. I moved to California, and that has nothing to do with it, because I started putting shit on YouTube. And eventually I became a partner with YouTube, and because I had a fan base that was developing and people were watching my videos and they were getting views, I was able to make money off the advertisements that they put on the videos. And that was after a while. When I first started doing YouTube, they didn't even have, that wasn't an option. But, that at that time was probably fucking $20 a month. And I started selling T-shirts. I got T-shirts printed. And I would, I'd make a YouTube video and I'd be like, yo, I got T-shirts. You want to buy the T-shirt? Around the same time, I made an album. With my boy EOM. And I did the same thing there. I would make basically promotional videos and things like that. Whether it be a music video, whether it be a video of like promoting the album. I do an occasional live show. Even then, I was doing a monthly show, but I really wasn't making money off that. Point is, I got all these little sources of income. One was T-shirt sales. One was music sales. At that time, I was using a site called CD Baby because people were still buying CDs. So you could buy a hard copy, a hard CD copy, or you could buy the digital copy. Now you might as well just put it on this site called TuneCore.com, It's pretty cheap to set up, and they'll put your music on iTunes, Amazon, and all over the place, and then just basically send you the money. So what happens is if you're an independent musician, you have all these little sources of income. The ones that I had were, as I said, T-shirt sales, which was a bitch because I had to do the work. You know, you gotta go to the fucking post office. At that time, I was maybe selling one T-shirt every 2 weeks, so I just have to go with I go with my one T-shirt to the post office every 2 weeks. Eventually, it might get more and more. Maybe I was selling more. There'd always be when you first have them available, you might sell 10, or at that time 5, and then you sell once every 2 weeks or something like that. So there's T-shirt sales, music sales, the money I was getting off of the YouTube advertisements. Then there's money you can get for playing shows. What are the other sources of income? See, now I have additional sources of income because I've made it to another place where I'm kind of like more in the music industry. So I have royalties, and I had a hit song in Europe. So sometimes I get checks where I can't even believe it, to be honest with you sometimes. But I get money from ASCAP for radio play. I get money from Sound Exchange for internet radio play and satellite radio play. Where else do I get money from? I mean, I've gotten deals. I've gotten record deals, and those usually come with money, advances. You know, it really helps to have a song that people think are going to be a hit. Because with that Rosanna song, I made a bunch of fucking money off that. So if you want to get paid as a rapper, I'd strongly recommend making a hit song. That will definitely be good for your bank account. But I know that from your thing, you're just starting off. So, it's these sources of income. As an independent musician, the sources of income are going to fucking start small. It's just like the last guy, Aaron James. You know, if you're worried about the money now, you know, you're gonna have to make it through years and years of not being able to make a living off it, unless you're just a fucking amazing beast. Because some people are so good that they can kind of come on the scene, the internet scene that is, and just kind of wreck shit because they're really good at making viral videos and really good at getting their name out. I think Lil Dicky, the rapper Lil Dicky, is just I think that he came out and kind of the first shit he did was just so good that he probably instantly started making a pretty good living off of it. Just because it's, some shit's undeniable. You know, there's a million rappers out there, but there's only some people that are fucking undeniably dope as fuck. And he's one of them, and especially having his own lane. But point is, you should listen to Aaron James's thing from before. You're not going to get paid right now if you don't have fans. You have to have fans to get paid. People have to want to listen to your music and give a fuck about it. So you're not going to just all of a sudden, just because you have an album, make money. As a matter of fact, if it's your first thing you've done, first of all, I'd be interested in hearing it, and I'm sure everybody else in the podcast would be. That's a start right there. You could get me to promote it. Didn't even tell the name of your album, so that would have helped. You could still send me an email, I'll promote it, or send me a tweet or something. I'd just like to hear it. Anyway, point being, if it's your first one, you really shouldn't be worried about making money off it. You should be worried about people hearing it if it's good. If it's not good, you should be worried about making your next one better. Takes a while, man. I mean, the shit that I told you just now about how exactly did I go about getting paid was only since I moved to California. You have to understand that I've been making music for a long time, and when I was in high school, when I was in regular college, I was in this band, and we tried to get paid. We played 1 million shows. We went on tours. We recorded 3 albums. That's not including a live album and fucking rap songs I was doing at the time. Then me and my brother did our shit, and it just takes a long time sometimes, man. It's not easy. It's not easy. All right. What do we got here? All right, this one's from Rico Suave. Hey, yo, Big Wax, what up, man? Rico Suave here again. Interestingly enough, he said here again. I feel like I would remember if I had a listener that wrote in called Rico Suave, but maybe the last time you're just some other name. I don't know. All right, hey, yo, Big Wax, what up, man? Rico Suave here again. I was wondering what your thought on the following scenario was. Hope to hear from you whenever, man. I'm a 17-year-old dude from Texas. My dream is to be a writer/director and to start making my own movies. I've recently wrote a portion of movie that I am strongly considering filming. The plan is that I finish the script before summer, and when the summertime arrives, I would start filming. I picked the summer because I would be home from school and I can completely devote my time to directing my friends into the roles they want to play. Seems like a good time to do it to me, for a student. Summertime. I have no budget whatsoever, but I'm a firm believer in something from nothing, and that me making this dream come true. Something from nothing, and that me making this dream come true. Anyways, my question to you is what you thought about someone like me with dreams of being a big filmmaker, dreams of being a filmmaker, using music using music from guys like you, EOM, Equilibrium, Intuition, Dumbfounded, or Watsky. I'm not trying to offend any of you guys with the title, quote, YouTube rappers, unquote, as I have a huge amount of respect for all of y'all and what you guys do, but my friend, who's essentially helping me produce this thing and star in it, pointed out that some of you guys give out music for free, thus making it okay. Hold on, I'll address that. Obviously, I'd put We Can't All Be Heroes by Wax from the album Continue in the credits. But because I have no money at all to put into this thing, I obviously can't afford to pay for huge songs from like Eminem or even pay for the use of any of your songs or any of those other guys. I personally want to use the first 20 seconds of the song Otis Redding by Intuition and Equilibrium to play during the opening of the actual movie. So do you think it'd be okay? I also know that it varies from artist to artist, and I'd have to ask Intuition, but because the song Otis Redding was a collaboration, I think, with Intuition and Equilibrium, do I ask both the guys or just the beat maker, since I only really want the first 20 seconds of the song, which is just a beat? Hope to hear from you, man. Keep up the awesome work, and can't wait till the new shit drops in April from you and EOM. All right, I just wanted to read this because I wanted to tell you a quick thing about what your friend said. Just because somebody gives away music for free doesn't give you the right to use whatever of their music you want for your project. That's from just as a dude that's been in this industry for a little bit, and just the entertainment biz in general. I didn't know shit, a while back, but like you can't. It doesn't matter what they give out for free. You have to get permission to use somebody's content. It's like somebody's. What the fuck is it? I wanted to sound smart, and now I'm about to sound dumb again. What the fuck is it called? Intellectual property. You can't just up and use somebody's intellectual property, whether it be music, somebody else's movie, somebody else's fucking artwork, somebody else's photography. Like, you can't just up and use it because you've seen them giving away something for free before. That being said, there's really no difference in like you were saying, because these people are considered YouTube rappers. Lil Wayne gives away mixtapes for free too. Does that mean you can just up and use a Lil Wayne song? No, I would probably say not. That being said, you're probably going to have a lot easier of a time reaching out to somebody like me or somebody like Intuition than you're going to have reaching out to someone like Eminem or Lil Wayne, like you said. So you're absolutely correct on that front. I would let you use my shit, and people use my shit all the time, and I don't complain about it. But I'm talking from I don't give a fuck when people use my shit as long as they credit me, just like you said. But you can't assume that everybody's like that. You can't assume that everybody doesn't give a fuck. Because, one day somebody might put my song on some fucking, to support some issue I don't agree with, or you can't promote a product that you're trying to sell. Maybe I don't want you to fucking use my shit to sell a product. But the internet is such a fucking wild, wild west place when it comes to intellectual property that people kind of assume, like your friend did, that you can just use stuff like you want to. And from a strictly legal perspective, you can't. That being said, if you want to use my shit, I'm saying right now that you can, as long as you credit me. And that's pretty much my general rule for stuff, because I figure it ain't like I'm fucking really whatever. You get my point. I just want to let you know that shit is not legal. It's illegal as fuck. All right, this one is from Kelvin. This is kind of a long question, but I thought it was a good question. Hey, Wax, this is Kelvin from Dallas, coming at you with another email. All right, he did this in sections. The first one was praise. He likes. Yeah, I'm not gonna read the praise one. But I appreciate it, man. I really do. All right, the next section is actual email. It's been over a year since I've sent in an email. To remind you, I was asking about how to start out as being a musician. Damn, this is a kind of a. I didn't really realize there's a lot of like starting out and kind of advice with the music thing categories this week. But hey, I'm a fucking expert, right? I know everything there is to know about that shit. You know, nobody's ever done it better than me. While I was writing that email, I wasn't really doing everything I could toward forward progression. But since then, I've found ambition and moved out of a population 700 town to a place with many more people and opportunities. I've made some large life changes and can say that I'm on a path that I'm happy with. Hopefully one day, I'll be making music that people can feel and moves them. As you suggested in your response, I've found musician friends that were non-existent in my previous small town. Actually, as of writing this, I'm mixing and mastering my friend's pop-punk song. It's not really my genre, but anything for the experience, right? Moral of the story is thanks for the advice, Wax. It's cool having someone that knows what they are talking about, giving personal advice like that. So far, everything is working out. You probably don't get to see every individual person that you affect, but I'm here to tell you that it makes a difference. Let me tell y'all something. You hear that fucking shit right there? Wax's podcast. Wax's podcast making a difference in the world, making a difference in people's lives, affecting the community in a positive manner. What? That's what I'm talking about. That's what it's about, people. The guy who I yelled at a couple weeks ago because he was mad at not having connections, the guy earlier in here that was worried about making money, that's what it's about. It's about affecting the community. It's about striving to affect the community and create change in a positive way. And look at me doing it to Kelvin from Dallas. Pause. All right, recommendations. This is another section. It's funny how I took his happiness and I just took it as a total stroke to my own ego. Yeah, that's the problem. Whatever. I'm glad shit's working out for you, man. I'm glad it's fucking working out. And yeah, it is tough to live in a small town and think things are going to happen for you. At least got to go to the closest big town. Even if you don't have to live there, just got to drive there, take the bus or something. Recommendations. I recommend the new Lupe Fiasco album. Damn, that's two for that one. Along with Bus Driver's Perfect Hair, an album that some parts can only be labeled as hard to listen to, but not in a bad way. It isn't for everyone, but it's a great album in my opinion with some interesting concepts. I got to check that out. I haven't heard that one yet. All right, questions. So apparently there are some common patterns in successful musicians. These trends include having ADD or ADHD and or having old parents. Personally, I have both. I have ADHD that causes me to always be tapping on something, like a pencil to a desk, or constantly tapping my foot like a drummer would do to stay on tempo, along with my parents having me very late into their marriage. I'm just turning 16 and my dad's pushing 60. So hopefully me having both are a good thing. Haha. Do you have one or both of those, or are there any other interesting common traits for successful musicians? Yeah, there's a very common trait amongst successful musicians I know is growing up in the black church. That's definitely a very common trait amongst successful musicians, because that shit is just, you really have no choice but to be involved in music when you do that every week, or if you play in the band more than every week and you're practicing and you're with the best and there's pressure, you got to be the shit. So that's a super common trait. As far as old parents, yeah, my parents are definitely older than most of my friends' parents that are my age are. I don't know how much of an effect that had on my musical success. They're not as old as your parents, though. Well, they are now, but I'm probably older than you. What's the other one? ADHD. Okay, you have ADHD that causes you to tap on your desk. First of all, I'd have to meet you to give my own fucking diagnosis. Because I tapped on my desk all the time when I was a kid, and I don't think it had anything to do with ADHD. I don't have ADHD. Granted, nowadays they'd say everybody has ADHD, so that's why I don't know how old you are, but you ever say how old you are? I don't think that you never said how old you are. Yeah, so I don't wait. Oh, in the next paragraph you said I'm a sophomore in high school. Wait, you're a sophomore in high school and you're already moving towns? You're already moving from one town to another? That's pretty impressive. You're already living by yourself? Or did you be like, "Mom, we got to move." Mom, this town just really isn't fucking fulfilling my musical ambitions. Can we move to Austin? Yeah, I don't know, dude. Why was I even saying that? Oh, because you're young. So you grew up in the era where every single person is basically told that they have ADHD because they couldn't sit still when they were 4, when the reality is that 4-year-olds don't sit still. So the fact that you tap on your desk, I did that every day in school because I'm a musician and I always have music in my head, not because I had ADHD. So granted, that being said, there's some people that really, like my nephew, my sister's son, he has ADHD, absolute fact. And that there's no denying the diagnosis if you meet the dude. I have to meet you to know. But I didn't know that musicians had ADHD. But if that's the case, it makes perfect fucking sense to me. Anything that makes you kind of fly off the handle and be emotional can probably contribute to the fact that you're a musician. I don't know. But yeah, let's go. Let's move on. Also, where did you go to college, and where would you recommend a musician to go to college? I went to regular college at the University of Maryland. I did nothing with my degree, and later in life, I went back to school at a place called the Los Angeles Recording School, and I learned the audio engineering stuff. Now, as far as recommendation, that's up to you, man. If you're a musician and you go to college for music, you better be fucking serious about it because I'm a sophomore in high school with grades to go pretty much anywhere that's not Ivy League, and college is just around the corner. I know a lot of people who went to Berklee College of Music. He said Immortal Technique. I didn't know Immortal Technique went to Berklee College of Music. Is that fucking true? That's weird. I definitely want to be in something music related. My point is I know a lot of people that went to Berklee. I went to the Los Angeles Recording School, and I'm literally, except for a couple people that kind of are still doing music shit, nobody I know that went to the Los Angeles Recording School ended up in the recording business, mostly because they went straight out of high school with dreams and didn't realize that being an audio engineer is actually not the greatest fucking job, and they're still 18, and they don't want to work fucking 20 hours a day for free for the next 2 years because they're ruining their childhood, essentially. And then as far as Berklee, people that I meet that have gone to Berklee are always successful. But that's because they're the ones that are out here doing it in the Los Angeles world. But they'll tell you that most people that went to Berklee really just end up with a shit ton of money that they had to pay back with their student loan. So be careful, man. Be careful. If you're trying to go to music school young, you better make sure that you mean that shit. Because it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's not like you just fucking go in there and smoke weed and jam. If you want to work, you got to work. And a lot of people don't realize that, and they end up with these big student loans. And don't get me wrong, that's not saying that same shit couldn't happen to you at a regular college. I mean, I spent 4 years at one, and I never used that shit. So as far as where would I recommend a musician to go to college? I mean, I would recommend them not to go to college just as much, honestly. Depending if you're that kind of musician, if you're a rapper, a punk rock bass player, fucking go tour. You know what I mean? Get good. But I didn't say that. I didn't mean it. Go to school. I would like to go somewhere that could further my so-called skills, but I don't want to end up being an audio engineer for a career. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm saying this because one of the only college courses that would be beneficial for an independent artist like me would be to get better at mixing and mastering, something I'm already good at. Damn, you're good at mixing and mastering as a 10th grader? I mean, that's pretty impressive right there. I don't want to go to a regular college like UT, Baylor, etc., common Texas colleges because I don't really care enough about anything other than music to study. I don't want to be a businessman, so why should I go to school to study business? Why would I go to school to study anything other than music? I mean, you're answering your own question, man. Yes, it's funny. I answered the question, and you said this kind of a similar thing that I did. That being said, if you want to be an independent musician, you're absolutely going to be a businessman. Not saying you have to study it, but you're going to have to know something about the business. Interestingly enough, you said something I'm already good at when referring to mixing and mastering. There's so much information out there that if you're truly dedicated right now at this point in time, you know, you could fucking teach yourself how to do just about anything using the internet and any tools that you have at your disposal as far as that goes. You don't really need class. Like for me, I'm the kind of dude that I went to the recording school because I wouldn't have taught myself how to do it. I'm just too lazy. And it was better for me personally, it was better to go to a place where I sat down in classes and had it forcibly taught to me. And I'm really, really happy that I do it. For me, it was worth every penny. But for you, man, if you're in 10th grade and you're already good at mixing and mastering, however you learn that, you could just continue learning that way. So, and just pay your monthly internet bill. I'm sure it's a lot cheaper than tuition. So that's another point too. Back to the point. Also, you got to keep in mind that you're going to have to eat. You know, when you get out of high school, you're going to have to fucking eat. So you might think you're good at mixing and mastering, but if you're not good enough yet, you're going to have to work for a while. So just keep that in mind. If you don't go to college, you're going to probably make less money and have a shittier job. Also, if you do go to college, you can kind of have an excuse to work less, you know, maybe spend more time on your passion. I don't know. That's up to you, man. I can't tell you what to fucking do. Back to the point. Being an audio engineer as a job would be worse than anything. Wow. Being so close to the place you aspire to be, but you have to work for the talent, instead of being the one considered the talent. Although I'm not trying to be that guy who's considered the talent, it's just an example. I don't understand what you're saying there. It would be terrible because you're being so close to the place you aspire to be, but you have to work for the talent instead of being considered the talent. But you're not trying to be considered the talent. So what are you trying to be? I don't know. You're in 10th grade, man. It's a confusing time. Hopefully you get... Jesus. Hopefully you'll get what I'm trying to say. I don't want to end up as the kid who wanted to be a hockey player his whole life, then makes it to the pros just to be an enforcer. Someone who's there just to fight, not to play hockey. I mean, dude, you're making a lot of assumptions in this email, just to be honest with you. I know you're in 10th grade, so you don't think so. You don't think so right now, but you're a child. Your brain is not fully developed, and it will be soon. You're smart, and you know what you like, and you're developing your likes and dislikes. But you know, when you're 23, you're gonna look back and be like, "Damn, I didn't know shit when I was 16." And I'm not saying that as a diss. I'm just saying that. How do you know that the hockey player didn't grow up to want to be an enforcer? How do you know that he didn't idolize those guys and he loves fighting? I mean, you know, you can't make assumptions like that. Granted, I don't give a fuck. I feel like that analogy comes close to being where you want to be. Also, I run into another problem when speaking about college. As I stated, I want to go to a place that can further my musical goals. But I run into a problem with this and how to play. My parents are very conservative people, the type you can only find in the South. They supported my musical ambitions when I was first learning to play sheet music and how to play the saxophone. I turned out being first chair until I dropped band class a year ago. They were very proud and supporting of me performing classical music, but I'm afraid that if I tell them I want to go to college to be a musician, especially a rapper, they won't be okay with it. Actually, I haven't told them anything about rapping. I'm working on my first mixtape and have to record and work on it when no one else is in the house. They're the type that want me to become a hard worker to make money and a man of God that has a wife and the traditional lifestyle that comes with it. Honestly, I don't want any of that. I would rather be playing shows for scraps than working in an office gig with a wife that I have to come home to. Am I being a little bitch? Should I say fuck my parents and take a student loan and move to the other side of the country at 18? I understand these aren't your decisions. You're absolutely fucking right about that to make. but I would enjoy any advice you are willing to throw in. Hopefully this has been a thought-provoking email. As always, any feedback is highly anticipated. I hope all is good. Can't wait to hear new music. Stay motivated and stay safe out there. Well, I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate all that. I don't know what it's like to have parents that are like conservative Southern parents, but I will say that my parents were definitely weren't the type to understand a 15-year-old writing fucking dirty ass raps. I remember them finding some raps me and my brother were writing, and just it was less madness than just straight confusion. Like, why the fuck are you writing this? I remember my brother had a rap in we had a class called Intro to Analysis, I guess in 10th or 11th grade. It was kind of like a statistics or logical reasoning. It was a math class. But he wrote a rhyme that said, I wrote this rap in my class, Intro Analysis. Fucked your mom so hard that I gave her pussy calluses. I remember my mom reading that out loud when she found this crumbled up or whatever piece of paper that had his whole verse on it. And it's just like, what the fuck is a parent supposed to think when she reads some stupid shit like that? Like, I felt bad for her. But yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. You just gotta go with what you know. I guess if when I was that age, I went ahead and did the whole, like, my parents thought I should go to college. I went to college. Kind of figure, too, your parents are fucking paying for all your food. They basically gave you a life, And, there's joy in making that, giving them joy, And you have to realize that 18 is still super, 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 super young. So when you move across the country at 18, thinking that you're just going to live off scraps, like you said, it's going to be more difficult than you think, I bet. But, I'm not going to go any further on it just because this is your decision to make, dude. I can't make these kind of decisions for you. Anyway, I got one more. I just thought it was an interesting letter. One more today. One more email. This is Dominic O. Hey, Wax, I was just wondering what your take is on public transportation. I live in the Valley, the 818 that is, and I rely on public transportation, a.k.a. Metro, to get around every day. I gave up my car after I got into an accident and couldn't afford to pay for the damages about 6 months ago. I don't mind taking the Metro because it gives me time to study on my way to school/work, and there's always something interesting to see while on the bus or train. The only problem I have is that the closest bus stop to me is almost 2 miles away. That might not seem far to some people, but when it gets hot as fuck in the Valley, it can be a real bitch to get home. I don't plan on buying another car because I'm saving a lot of money by taking the Metro. It also helps the environment, and the walking is good for my health. I've noticed that people sort of look down on me when I tell them I don't own a car. They are confused and don't understand my decision. LA culture is synonymous with car culture these days, and it's hard for people to realize any alternative to driving a car. I'm currently studying urban planning at Cal State Northridge. Oh, good for you. And would like to get your opinion on the subject. What is your experience with public transportation? When you got your DUI, did you ever take public transportation? What do you think of LA's transit compared to other cities you visited? What are your perceptions of people who utilize public transportation? All right, interesting question. Yes, I did. I absolutely used public transportation in Los Angeles when I got that DUI. That's all I used. I would use it to go to work and really to go anywhere. I would take the bus. At the time I lived in North Hollywood, so if I wanted to go to, let's say, Hollywood, I would take the bus from my place because it would have been a long walk to the North Hollywood metro station from there. I'd take it to the metro station. Sometimes I think there was even I would usually take it to the metro station. And the metro station is a hop, skip, and a jump. You just go like 2 stops to get to Hollywood because there's North Hollywood, then there's the fucking Universal City Walk, and then it goes to like Hollywood and Highland right there, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I would use it all the time. I'd have to use it to get to the airport. If I wanted to go to I remember taking it to like Santa Monica to go to the beach and shit like that. But yeah, dude. I mean, if you take the subway in New York or in Washington D.C. or in Los Angeles, anywhere where you take the subway, you're kind of. I'm not saying it's dangerous, but I'm saying you are around a bunch of fucking weirdos. I think especially in L.A. There's some weird motherfuckers on the bus and on the train out here. Absolutely. I don't have any negative perceptions of people that utilize public transportation. I'm saying that because you asked me that question. But there definitely are some interesting people that use it. And for that year that I was using it, it was more than a year. It was more like a year and a half, 2 years, because there was a time I couldn't drive and then the time that I couldn't afford to drive. So there was many times where you'd almost see some type of altercation on the bus. Even myself, I even almost got in one. This dude, it's totally my fault. But I was riding in the bus, and I remember I was working at the Beverly Center at the times and living in North Hollywood. So this bus would come over the hill. And I remember this incident happening. We were like on the hill, like right on Laurel Canyon in Mulholland. And there was this, I was sitting on the back thing, like the very back seat of the bus, and there was this dude. He was like a 45-year-old, kind of like, he was a black dude, and he looked like maybe he was a vet. Like he looked like he was just like a serious dude. And I guess what happened was, I don't think I realized it, but I guess I coughed without covering my mouth. And the dude, I just like, I looked over at the dude, like I guess I looked at him, and he was fucking, he was just staring at me like he was gonna fucking kill me, and he was so mad. And he was like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" And I didn't even know at the time. I didn't realize that that's what the problem was. I remember him like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" And he explained to me that I coughed, and I was apologetic because it is kind of fucked up. Like you're in that space and you're just coughing without covering your mouth. But you know, the amount of fucking rage that this guy had about it was definitely, you know, some shit that you would see in public transportation. And I used to always see like dudes fucking with women in really creepy ways. There'd be people that smell bad. There'd be just general crazy people. Now you say, what do you think of LA's transit compared to other cities you visited? It's definitely not as, you know, when compared to something like New York City, you know, you can't go to as many places. It takes a long time. But people out here always say that public transportation sucks when they've never fucking taken it, and they're usually wrong. Like there's a subway. You can get downtown. You can get to a bunch of different places on it. It's not nearly as extensive as the New York one, and I would say it's not even as good as the DC one. But it's not as bad as people make it out to be, man. Recently, I've been kind of like keeping my commute short. I live like 5 minutes away from where I work, and I try to take my bike. I even skateboard here sometimes. And if I'm going out, I usually go out drinking, so I take Lyft, Lyft. That's like Uber, if you guys didn't know. But I also have money now. Back then I didn't. Back then I could barely afford to take the fucking bus and train. So, you know, what else did you say? Did you have any other questions? Closes? Yeah, it is interesting how LA culture, you said LA culture is synonymous with car culture. And that's true. Like, LA is a very car-driven, everybody has a car type of place. I know I used to meet people from New York. I remember when I first moved here, or when I used to do shows in New York, or when I went to college. Like, people from New York City, they grew up in New York City. They might not even have a license, and they're 30 years old, and they're just like, I just never had one. Like, I never had to drive. In Los Angeles, that would be rare, I would think. Even if you didn't have a car, you get a license, so in case you had to drive somebody's car or whatever, because people be driving all the time. I don't know. You know, 6'4" Impalas and shit like that. You get a 6'4" Impala when you turn 16 out here. But yeah, okay. That's what I have to say about that, Mr. Dominic. And that's all I got for this week. So be safe out there.